Hey, this is Atari Man, and you're listening to Two Dudes and a Ness. Man, I love this show about as much as I love when Michael buys something off of me. And if I could just find a copy of Wrecking Crew.
Hey, Justin.
What's up, man?
Not a whole lot. Just recuperating from a family reunion of sorts the past 5 days.
Well, that's a long family reunion.
Yeah. Well, it's Amber's family has come into town, or they did come into town. They're gone now, but so we had that to contend with from Friday. We're recording this on Wednesday, by the way, from Friday until Monday. However, with Tuesday thrown in there in bits and pieces for good measure,
Yeah.
Because they didn't actually leave until Wednesday, today.
Yeah.
So.
Now you did send me a text. It may have been Friday night. I'm not sure. Regarding this family that was staying with you, and it says, as read here, I've got in-laws in from out of town. Here's the quote of the night: "I'm co-chairman of the dance committee!" !
Yes. Now I left it up to you to determine whether or not it was said in anger or excitement
So there's a few things. This could either be somebody's really excited about being co-chair of the dance committee and they're exclaiming it, or it could be an argument, a dance-related argument, that this person is trying to prove that he's right by saying, "I'm co-chair of the dance committee."
Yeah.
That was my two-way interpretation.
Okay. Well, it actually turns out there's more than just two then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, actually, the story goes, and we'll get into the... But hey, everybody, this is Two Dudes and Ness. We're going to talk about Kirby's adventure tonight. Sorry.
Yeah.
We just kicked right into the tangent talk for the 2 stars and the 1 stars.
Right.
But anyways, so... the actual truth behind that story is there's a coup going in the dance world, okay? So the president of the dance club, okay? He is, he's like kind of a dictator of the dance club. He's like, it's my way or the highway, sort of a thing, you know what I mean? And so... everybody's like, well, what are you going to do? Did we mention his name? Did you quote his name?
I did. I didn't say it. I didn't know if we wanted to keep that under wraps.
Yeah, we do. We want to keep it under wraps. So for sake of the story, we're going to call him Jim Fred. Okay.
Okay.
So Jim Fred he's been in this dance club for 20 years. Okay. And so he's got the clout of the club, but the new president is kind of a dictator. Okay, so the story goes we're trying to come up with a way for Jim Fred to start a coup and overthrow this president of the dance club, and he was kind of saying, this is I am a member of the. I'm a chair of the committee or the dance committee. I can do this, not like all of a sudden, yay, I'm the chair of the dance committee, or, like what you were saying, trying to win an argument. He was saying, I'm the chair of the frickin' dance committee, guys. Okay. So
I can do it. Yeah. Of course I can do this. I'm co-chair of the dance committee. Right. Okay. So, Is this a dance club for adults? Is it a kids dance team? What are we dealing with?
It's adults.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the South Carolina Shag?
I have not.
Of course you haven't. Of course you haven't, because it's not like it's a super popular dance. But anyways.
Okay.
But it's apparently a pretty popular thing. Some of the listeners out there, some of you guys out there may have heard of the South Carolina shag. Or maybe it's North Carolina shag. It's Carolina shag of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. But if anybody has ever... by the way, it's not my family, it's my wife's family. So it's once removed, which makes which honestly makes the family reunion aspect of it that much more straining on me. No offense to her or her family. They're good people. I enjoy them. We have good times. But when it's like a 5-day bender on family relationships, it can be a bit of a strain.
It takes its toll.
Yeah.
Sure. Right. All right. Well,
you should talk about Kirby, though, don't you?
Yeah. Good luck to him, though, and his coup, the dance.
Do you think he can do it?
Without knowing any other details.
Oh, here, let me give you one more detail, and this one may be the kicker. This may be the straw that breaks the old camel's back, as they say. So the new president also has a new young buck who is like mid-20s, an awesome shagger. He's like one of the best shag dancers there is. He's a hot new commodity, and he is on the president's side.
Oh man, that's the dagger. Then it's over. He can't do it.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be an uphill battle for old Jim Fred.
Is he going to lose the fancy 20-year-old dancer if he tries to pull off the coup?
Yeah, it's a possibility. You know, I mean,
yeah.
There's always segregation or like a separation from church and state or whatever you call it, or the annexation. What is it called? Where you split away.
Right, segregation.
That's a possibility too, where Jim Fred could maybe just take some people and go start his own club. I don't know, man. It's tough times in the neighborhood.
Are they involved in competitions, or is this just for fun?
It's just funsies, you know.
Okay. Kind of just for funsies, but it's taken fairly seriously.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun, but but some serious fun.
Right. It's fun, but as long as we're having fun with the guys, that everybody's going to follow these rules.
Exactly. Right. Yes. Exactly. There's more I could go into, but we should probably talk about Kirby. So I'm going to throw it to you after the segment intro, by the way, for his story. His story. I actually like how I said that word. His story.
His story.
His story. Kirby's story. Here we go.
It is now time for Justin's historical tidbits and trivia.
All right, so we're talking about Kirby's Adventure for the NES, of course. I know this is Kirby, the character Kirby's second foray into video games. And so Kirby was actually originally a character released on a game for the Game Boy in 1992 called Kirby's Dream Land. And they brought it over to the NES in 1993, was the release March 23rd, 1993, in Japan, and May 1993 for North America. But so it was late in the NES cycle. The character Kirby was actually a creation of Masahiro Sakurai.
Sakurai,
yeah. Oh, Sakurai, yeah. Sakurai has been involved in a lot of famous games. Probably what most people know him for is either Kirby or Super Smash Bros. Series. As his company HAL Laboratory, which developed the Kirby game. And we've also talked about another HAL game. Only one other HAL game so far. It appears. You know what that one is?
I do not. I think you cut out there for a second.
It's Kabuki Quantum Fighter.
Whoa!
The other HAL game.
I love that game.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's one of my favorite. That's probably my favorite intro. You know how you were talking last episode? I think it was last episode about your favorite intro you've ever done on the podcast. Yeah, it was the Cool Runnings thing. I'm pretty sure my intro that I did for the Kabuki Quantum Fighter is my favorite. Do you remember it?
I can't quite remember it, and I can't place it.
Okay, well, I challenge the listeners to go back and listen to that episode because it was it's quite the intro. It really wasn't much of anything. I think I just yelled out Kabuki Quantum Fighter, but it was the way I mixed the music in with it too. Yeah, it was good. It was good.
All right. So, Kirby's Adventure was developed, of course, by HAL, with Masahiro Sakurai returning as director or designer. He originally created Kirby for the Game Boy game. And actually, the character Kirby was actually a kind of a place-in for a future character when they were developing the first Kirby game. So the original character was not supposed to be Kirby, and they made this character and named him Popopo.
Popopo?
Yep, Popopo was his original name. And Sakurai actually decided that he actually just liked this circle blob-like character instead of actually placing him with a different character. And so that's how Kirby was born. Now, there's some debate over the name of where Kirby came from. One thing, though, this is going to be a tie-in to our one of our recent episodes. Miyamoto, of course, was involved in this game as well. And Miyamoto says that the name Kirby came from James Kirby, who was an American lawyer who defended Nintendo in their Universal Studios versus Nintendo case in 1984. You remember what that case was about?
Man, I
talked about it in a recent podcast.
I know. It was not even like a couple months ago we talked about it, and I can't place it.
That was over the Donkey Kong.
Yeah, that's right.
And King Kong and blah, blah, blah. So that's apparently where Miyamoto has said that the name Kirby came from, but there's no real confirmation of that. And that's not coming from a direct quote. It's just something that I've read. So I don't know if there's real fact in that or not. But that's really where they got it.
Well, we're going to consider it fact.
All right. Calling it fact. There it is. But anyway, there was another big name that was also involved in this game, in its creation, and that was Satoru Iwata. Recently passed away CEO of Nintendo. Was also heavily involved, and there are some quotes out there of Iwata actually calling Kirby his favorite Nintendo character. So there you go.
That. Yeah.
Of course, Kirby, when they brought him over to the NES from Game Boy, they expanded his abilities. Color came into play, and there is where Kirby became pink. That was Sakurai's original intent, was for him to be pink. He envisioned him to be pink, and of course, the Game Boy had him as white, because they could have pink on the Game Boy.
He was white, but it was really kind of like a green, right?
Yeah,
on
sure.
the Game Boy.
Right. But Miyamoto actually wanted him to be yellow. And so he would have actually kind of looked like almost like a Pikachu-like character, I guess. Ultimately, Sakurai went out. Now, what did Sakurai end up doing? So Sakurai worked for HAL for a long time because they developed the Super Smash Brothers games, a ton of Kirby games as well. And then he actually eventually left HAL in 2003. And the reason he says he left HAL is because he just got tired of doing a bunch of sequels, right? Like he just felt like all he was doing was making sequels to Kirby games and Super Smash Brothers, blah, 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 right? Well, since then, there's been other Smash Brothers games, of course, and he's always been involved in as a director.
Was he involved in the latest, the one that's coming out this year?
So it says he is the director of that one. Yes.
Okay. I feel like he said this is going to be his last one. For some
Well,
reason.
apparently he has something wrong with his shoulder, and he has some bad tendonitis and can hardly use his right arm because of it. And so he says that has decreased his gaming development abilities. So there we go.
That seems odd. But
Yeah.
I mean, he's not actually doing the programming. He's probably just telling people what to do, right?
Yeah, I would think at this point, especially for the Smash Brothers games, since he's just kind of the director of those games. But anyway, I think that's, of course, Kirby's been one of the most more popular Nintendo characters from here on out. It's been in every Smash Brothers game, and even some of the characters from this game, like Meta Knight, has gone on to make appearances in different games as well. So this was really the birth of a franchise. I guess it's not the birth. I guess Kirby's Dream Land gets that title, but this was a much more expanded version of Kirby's Dream Land. It had the concept of copy abilities, where you eat the bad guys and then you get their ability, and which we'll talk about more in the gameplay. So anyway, do you have this game? Did you go on a quest to find this game?
Good question.
Aye, it's time for Michael's quest to find the cart.
Well, for Kirby here, I actually sought this game out on purpose several years ago. I didn't get it in a lot. I honestly never played any Kirby games growing up as a kid, but I just felt like I really needed a Kirby game in my life. This was a long time ago. I think this was even... This is when you and I were still living together, I feel, or maybe right after. But I just, I didn't get it online. I think I actually just went and found it at like I know where I got it. This will be a throwback for you. I don't know if we've ever talked about this place on the podcast before. I got it at the Sweetwater Flea Market.
Oh, I think we have, but a long time ago.
Yeah. So I'm almost 100% sure that I got this one at the Sweetwater Flea Market back in the day.
The quintessential flea market for us.
Yeah. Well, the only one that I ever went to, really.
Right.
The only one worth going to. That's right.
That's true.
And back, there was a time when you could go and you could dig through NES games and they weren't expensive. And this was during that time. But since then, even at the flea market, it's just, it's not worth it. But I can remember this was in the back corner. Like when you enter the flea market, if you go all the way to the back corner, there was a guy that had a bunch of like video games and old nostalgia stuff, and that's where it was.
The nostalgia guy.
The nostalgia guy, that's what I call him.
You could easily walk and eat your corn dog on the way down there.
Yeah. Okay, we've definitely talked about the Sweetwater Flea Market because I know we've talked about the corn dogs before. Okay.
Yeah.
So there must have been another game where I got it at the Sweetwater Flea Market in the past.
So,
so that's my quest back in the day. It's really sad. I can remember the time when I went to the Sweetwater Flea Market, like after I was married. Amber and I went, and I was super excited to go because I could remember it being awesome. But I had not been probably since I got the Kirby game, so it's probably been like 10 years. Or 8 years since I had been to the flea market, and we went, and she had kind of remembered it fondly too. But when we got there, it was sad. It was dirty,
garbage now. Yeah,
it was not good.
I haven't been in so long that I'm sure it's way different now. But that was kind of the sweet spot of retro game finds, because I'm sure you probably paid. Not nearly as much as what this game's going for now.
It was probably like $5. It was,
right.
I mean, it was, This was one of those shops I can remember. I don't know if it was this particular time when I bought Kirby, but I can remember when I was younger, like around the PlayStation era, like when I was in high school or a little bit before.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably when I was in high school. I can remember going down there when I was in high school, and it was like he would have his NES games there, and it would there would just be a sign just like NES games $5, or it was like 5 for $20, and you could just and it didn't matter what the game was, it's just like any of these games here in this bin, which were all his NES games. It's like, okay, these are all $5 or 5 for $20. And you could just rake them in. And if I had, obviously if I had hindsight, I would have picked the games that were going to end up being expensive. But, how would I have known?
For sure. And, you think about it, it's like people were just selling their games just to get rid of them. And you just had people that, weren't necessarily even collectors, but just, wanted to play them just because, for funsies' sake.
Oh, yeah. I mean, back then, I wasn't collecting them. I was just buying them because I wanted to play them,
Right. And now it's just a whole business in and of itself.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, yeah. So I'm saying Nintendo's missing the market. I mean, they're doing, I know they released the miniature NES, but they could even consider start making new carts, I think, and people would buy them.
Yeah, you're probably right. They probably could actually make new cards. They really
not necessarily every game,
Yeah,
just like the really popular ones.
They said I think it was last month. Did you see where the NES Classic was the number one selling console? Period. On top of PlayStation and Xbox One and the Nintendo Switch and all the consoles. Period. It was the number one selling console.
See, case in point, right there.
Yeah. So, and think about it, if they would have just made it, with a cartridge slot, and then just started re-releasing the NES games all over again, it'd be crazy.
That, Nintendo's made some pretty big blunders throughout the years, and I think that was one of them. They should have put a cartridge slot in the re-release, the NES Classic.
Yeah, but in their defense, they could probably make it a lot cheaper without it.
Sure.
There's a lot less things to go wrong with it, that they'd have to try to fix with warranties and stuff. And even though they could make probably could have made potentially more money on it in the long run by doing it that way. Nintendo's never been one to be solely about the money. It doesn't seem like. And of course, they love money, obviously, just like any company does. But they've made some decisions that were not necessarily rooted in making the most money possible.
Sure. I guess. Yeah, I see that definitely. Yeah. Just right. We're going to do it this way, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. I think we should talk about Kirby's Adventure. Do some little gameplay talk. You want to?
All right.
All right. You ready to talk about the gameplay?
Yeah.
What better way to begin the gameplay discussion than with the manual?
Yeah.
This manual is good.
It's a meaty manual. It's a meaty manual.
It is meaty. It is colorful. Mm-hmm. It's basically everything you could want in a manual.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of detail.
Yes, I'm gonna read this story. The usual. You got the usual stuff, by the way, at the beginning. Nintendo seal of approval, blah de blah. Read before using your NES. Nobody ever does that. All right, here we go. So, bear with me. I can't. There's no way I can read this entire story. I'm going to try to paraphrase on the spot.
Okay.
And this may lead to disaster. But in my defense, the story is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages long.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which, wow! I mean, that's quite the story in an NES manual.
Right. Right.
So here we go. A crisis in Dreamland. Light years away, on a tiny star not visible from Earth, is the magical, peaceful place known as Dreamland. By the way, I just changed my mind. I'm just going to read it because there's no way I won't be able to paraphrase this.
Right.
Okay.
Probably easier.
Yeah. The beings that inhabit this wondrous world live in a blissful existence that centers on eating, sleeping, and playing. Sounds like my dog.
Sounds like the best life.
Yeah. An example of their carefree customs include the traditional after-lunch feast nap. After they awaken from their nap, the Dreamlanders discuss their dreams and fervently hope that each other's fondest wishes come true. Wow, this sounds so nice. They have a little siesta, and then they wake up from their nap, and they talk about their
dreams.
Talk about the dreams and hope everybody's dreams come true. Okay. One day, a young Dreamlander named Kirby awoke from his after-lunch nap feeling terrible. What happened? He wondered to himself. I didn't have any dreams during my lunch nap. Man, I hate it when that happens, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right after, you get your lunch in, get your lunch nap. No dreams. Might as well not even nap.
Yeah, I know. Might as well not even eat lunch.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
By the way, with the family in, I literally almost took a lunch nap the other day because I was like so tired. I don't do that.
You almost did what?
Oh, I almost took a lunch nap.
Okay.
Speaking of,
yeah,
but I don't normally do that. But I almost did. All right. This lack of dreams left Kirby feeling very uneasy. After talking to some of his friends, he found that the problem was much more serious than he had thought, for they had not experienced any dreams either. Something must have happened to the dream spring, they exclaimed in unison. Oh, sorry. I should have exclaimed that in unison.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm a bad storyteller. Maybe next time you and I can exclaim that in unison together. But
that's right.
Until then. Hey, actually, listeners, all you guys out there at the same time, I want everybody to exclaim in unison. You think this will work? No, I don't think so. But we're going to try it.
Something must have happened.
Something must have happened to the dream spring. Okay, on three. Everybody out there? 1, 2, 3.
Something must have happened to the dream spring.
Okay, did you all join Justin in that exclamation point there? I hope so. Anyways, I feel like I'm talking to children's classroom or something all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I'm reading a children's book to a bunch of kids, which we'll get into it in the gameplay. It's actually kind of quite fitting. But anyways, here we go.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The Dream Spring is a magical well that is a reservoir for all the dreams of the inhabitants of Dreamland. Dreams also flow out of the Dream Spring and envelop Dreamland, granting all sleepy beings enjoyable dreams. Legends told that the Dream Spring was created by a magical artifact known as the Star Rod. The sparkling star on the tip of the scepter was an actual fragment of a star that had landed in Dreamland in the distant past. The Star Rod now provided energy to the Dream Spring and served as the very symbol of Dreamland. The lack of dreams made everyone in Dreamland feel restless and irritable. The joyful laughter that had once resounded throughout Dreamland could no longer be heard at all. Things were bleak. Kirby, the roly-poly hero of Dreamland, boldly announced his intention to investigate the Dream Spring and find the cause of all the trouble. Upon reaching the Dream Spring, who did he find but King Dedede, bathing in its magical waters?
All right, hold up here.
He was peeing in it. He's totally peeing in it.
Yeah, he's just splashing around in it, having a good time. And also, King Dedede looks kind of like Donald Duck.
Yeah, he kind of does, doesn't he?
So, there you go.
So, my guess is they don't actually say what King Dedede is. But my guess is he's a goose.
A goose?
Yeah. Goose poop. That's what ruined the Dream Spring.
Oh, of course.
You're welcome, Josh.
Goose are
by the way.
terrible. Yeah, geese are terrible about that.
Yeah, goose poop. In the Dream Spring.
There it is.
There's some hot goose poop talk for Josh Witt. if he's still listening to the podcast.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Upon reaching... Oh, we already talked about that. In the past, and then parentheses, see Kirby's Dream Land for Game Boy. Shameless plug.
Right.
King Dedede had caused mischief in Dreamland by stealing all the Dreamlanders' food and sparkling stars. Now, in the middle of the Dream Spring, in place of the Star Rod, sat Dedede, covered with bubble bath.
He's in that little, that pink bubble bath. He's just like splashing around it.
Yeah, this almost sounds like I'm making this up, but this is actually the story in the book of this game, in the manual.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Here, we can do a little Two Dudes Theater. Are you following along?
Oh, yeah. I'm here.
All right, you want to do a little Two Dudes Theater here real quick? You want to be Kirby or DDD?
I can be DDD.
Okay. Oh, what do you think Kirby sounds like?
I don't know. I think he would have a deep voice.
Okay. All right. So, you're up to your old tricks again, eh, DDD?
What are you talking about, young pudgeball? I thought I'd do everyone a favor by...
No. I won't listen to your tricks. What have you done with the Star Rod?
Oh, that old thing? I broke it into 7 pieces and gave each piece to one of my friends.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what was DDD thinking, Kirby wondered. Before hearing any more of what DDD had to say, Kirby set off on the long trek to gather the pieces of the Star Rod and return them to the Dream Spring. Hopefully he could return the sparkle of the Dream Spring so that the people of Dreamland could again enjoy their happy midday naps. So how convenient of DDD to break it into pieces that matched like how many bosses there are in this game.
I know. I guess maybe they were all there and he just like handed them each a piece, before they all left, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
So that's the story, by the way. I hope you enjoyed that nice long story in the Two Dudes Theater that we did there.
Right. So now that's just the first 10 pages of the manual. It's only about a 25% of the manual.
I know. I really don't think that we can go through this manual. It would just take the whole show. So I hope you guys enjoyed the story. I would highly recommend checking this manual out, though, because it is a really nice manual. It covers a lot of different colors. We may refer back to it a little bit while we're talking about the gameplay, because it shows lots of different things, like all the different things you can do in the game, blah, 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 Talks about the bonus games and stuff. So we may refer back to the manual. But as far as actually reading more from it, I think we're done.
Right.
So what did you think about this game? Did you play it as a kid, by the way?
So no, I was never into Kirby, and I would assume by 1993 I was probably moved on to the Super Nintendo. So probably wasn't. So I definitely didn't have this game as a kid. So I probably had already moved on to the Super Nintendo and didn't really even give this game a thought. And it's interesting that Kirby's games can always come in the late life cycle of systems, right?
Yeah, it is interesting. A lot of people say that the Kirby games spell the end of the system. Yeah. Like when the Kirby game comes out, you know that Nintendo's about done with the system. Which is weird because the Nintendo Switch started with a Kirby game, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's interesting.
They're already done. They're already done.
They're already done with it. Let's hope not.
It's also interesting that they did that. Well, I guess maybe as far as this Kirby game, I mean, Kirby wasn't even really a character until 1992, so they really didn't have time to. It's not like they were sitting on a Kirby character in 1985 and just didn't produce a game for it.
Yeah, I'm with you as far as when I was younger. The fact that it came out at the time it did. I remember looking at it and seeing it come out, like reading a Nintendo Power or something like that and seeing it and just thinking that I was too old for it. Like it seemed like something that something a really young kid would play.
It's not appealing like a Mario or a Zelda, And, I compare them to those two games because Kirby's kind of become one of Nintendo's more famous characters. But especially when it first came out, like I would have looked at this and thought, nah, I don't know. And, even, probably, like you said, I would have thought this was like a kiddie game, nothing that was really anything I'd be interested in.
Yeah, it's funny that all those thoughts went across my mind. I never gave this game a shot. Then later in life, I thought I'd never played a Kirby game. I've got to play one, and I went for this one first. But my wife is the exact opposite. She doesn't. We've talked about it in the past. She doesn't even like video games all that much. But of all the very few video games that she played when she was younger, the Kirby for Game Boy was one of the ones that she played a ton of. Because she actually had it on her Game Boy, and she played it. So it's funny because when I was playing for the show, typically I have to play by myself because nobody wants to watch me play video games. But it just so happened it was Kirby, so it was kind of familiar territory, and I actually had an audience while I was playing this game for the show. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but it's. One thing about this game, though, is there's a lot to it. There's a lot of different elements to it. With for example, the copy abilities. That there's a lot of copy abilities to a lot of different enemies. And one thing is you've got these guys like Sakurai, Iwata, Miyamoto that are involved in the development of this game that have got a ton of experience now with producing NES games. So they can pretty much push the NES to their limit, and I think that we see that a little bit in the Kirby game.
This game is I don't know exactly how big it is or how much of the cartridge it fills up or any of that technical stuff, but I know you can tell playing it, and we'll get into this more here in a little bit. The graphics, the sound, the music. How many different gameplay elements there are in it and stuff. This game is packed to the brim. It's got to be like the biggest game on the system.
It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest. So I think we've talked about the biggest, and I don't remember how big it was. But this is 6 megabytes. So 6 megabytes sounds like nothing, of course, but back then that's a lot. So let's see. I just have to look it up.
Look it up. Let's just pause and make for a great pod.
Right. A silent pod.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. No, So it's packed. I mean,
this is the biggest game.
Okay.
6 megabytes.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so this is the biggest game, and that makes a lot of sense because it's got so much to it. I will say, I talked about how I kind of avoided it as a kid. I didn't really mention whether or not I liked it, but now playing it just as a brief overview, I think this game's a lot of fun. I love all the different gameplay elements. The copy ability is just so unique on the NES system. I mean, Kirby in general, the copy ability is kind of unique to Kirby, period. But can you imagine back in the day when this game came out? Like how unique that gameplay element really was.
Oh, certainly. It's kind of like, and I'm stealing this from somebody else's review, but I think it's perfect. It's like a mixture between Mario and Mega Man, and it really is. Like you got the components of taking other people's abilities and using them, like the Mega Man, but the gameplay and the level design is very much like a Mario game.
Yeah, I could see that totally. So another interesting aspect that I find awesomely unique about this game is you basically can fly. I mean, there is there's no limit really to your flying. Right. You just suck in a bunch of air and you just float up in the air, and you can do it as long as you want for as high as you want to go, or as high as the level will let you go.
Right, which is pretty cool.
That is really cool because in most games you're kind of constrained in that you can only do so much. You can only jump so high, or they kind of like make the level so that it kind of traps you in that way with the gameplay element rather than the level itself, right? But in this game, you're not confined really. You just kind of they have to design the level in a completely different way because you're not confined to a jump, really.
Right. So you don't have to. Obviously they have to design the level to have things that are challenging in the upper parts of the level, because otherwise you could just fly over everything.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
I did, however, find this game to be somewhat easy. Like, it kind of matches the aesthetic being somewhat childlike, like for kids.
Sure.
The game is really pretty easy.
Right. And I didn't see this in anything that I read as far as what they were thinking about when they designed this game. Whether that was the point of the game, was to maybe be a more kid-like game. But I think that when I look at it, but then the other part of me says, no, I mean, they've added a lot of elements to this game. And that was one thing I did actually read, and I didn't mention in the history, is they packed a lot of copy abilities in, essentially because they wanted the game to have a lot of replay value. And even though it's an easy game, there's so many ways that you can go about playing it and using different copy abilities in different areas of the game, that it has a ton of replay value, even though it's, usually easier games don't have a whole lot of replay value. But this one still kind of retains it.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree. I think part of the fun of the game is figuring out who you can eat and get their abilities, right? Like, who all can you copy abilities from? So, like, if a guy, perfect example, first level of the game, you see a guy spitting or, like, doing, like, this weird lightning move. And you're like, can I do this weird lightning move? Let's see. And then you eat him and you swallow him, which is creepy. But
right. It's a two-step process. You can't just eat them. You got to swallow them.
And how do you figure, like, that's another question. How do you figure out that that's something to do if you don't read the manual? I don't know. I just kind of always remember knowing how to do it, but how did I learn how to do it the first time?
Got into the manual, yeah.
So
I guess, yeah.
Do they design? I can't remember if they design an element.
Well, there is
in the game,
so
it kind of guides you to that.
At the beginning of the game, and I can't remember every detail that it goes through. There is a little tutorial. If you remember, so when the game opens, it opens with Kirby being drawn. It teaches you how to draw Kirby, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But then it kind of goes through, like, the demo mode. It actually has, like, in the bottom part of the screen, it tells you kind of how to control Kirby, what does what.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
It may mention that there. I don't know. I don't actually really pay much attention to it, but it may actually mention it there, I guess. So
I'm kind of surprised if you think about the NES. It's got two buttons, A and B, right? It feels like they crammed a lot of things you can do in this game into those two buttons. Really, all you have is a jump and then, like, the suck ability, right?
Yeah. But what they did was they used a lot of combinations, like a down and B button, things like that. Like, like you take somebody in with the holding B button, and then you swallow by pushing down. So it's like they took you have those just two buttons. B kind of takes the character in, A jumps. But then you can also use the D-pad to kind of do certain other things.
Yeah. Now, something else is really cool is, did you know, I don't know if you figured this out or not, that sometimes you can suck up 2 enemies at the same time and swallow them, and you get like an even more unique special ability.
Yeah. Which is really cool,
Yeah, that is pretty darn awesome.
More added elements to the game.
Yeah, so I think the game is, it's a game of beating the level, right? Which is just, every games do that. But it's also a game of just it's almost a game of exploration. The levels, there's no exploration so much to speak of, but the exploration is kind of figuring out how many different kind of abilities you can get, right?
And how you can use them to beat the level, yeah. Right.
Yep. That's so that's kind of more the crux of the game than beating the level themselves, I feel like.
Right. So, and for those of I think there's just kind of skimming through the comments section, there's people that have never played this game, and it's really just a side-scrolling platformer in its real basic form, but then it's got all these added elements to it. So, as well.
Yep. So there's 7 levels in the game, 7 stars, 7 levels, but there's sub levels within those levels. Just kind of like you see on the NES. It's very similar to a lot of games you see. But I thought it was really cool how you went between the levels. Mm-hmm. Like the way you go between the levels is you kind of back out. Like you'll go into. The game starts off, it's somewhat of an overworld, but it's not like a Mario 3 overworld where you're looking down on Mario and going to the level. It actually almost looks like it's a side-scrolling, and then you go into the door, and that's the level. And then when you beat the level, you go back out of the door, and it's the overworld, so to speak, but the overworld is just another side-scrolling level with doors that you can go in.
Right. Which is pretty cool.
That's really cool.
And of course, one thing would be amiss to not mention was this game you could save your game on this game, which is pretty important, because even though this game may be a little easy, it is pretty long. It would take a lot of time to beat in just one setting. So the save states are pretty nice, and it gives you a percentage to how far along you are.
Yeah, I like that. It almost feels like a precursor to, like, the layout and everything almost feels like a precursor to Super Mario World. Like, if you look at the elements of the way the game saves your progress and stuff, in this game, it almost looks and feels a little bit like Super Mario World in a weird way.
Yeah. Even kind of the backgrounds, now that you think about that, like, I just thinking about, like, the level designs and backgrounds look really similar. Which I was thinking that the kind of the under, I don't know what you would call it, but like the area where it tells you how many points you had and how much life Kirby has and all that.
The hood.
Yeah.
The heads-up display sort of thing.
Yeah. That just reminded me of Mario in itself, like Mario 3 or kind of had something similar to that as well.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I mean, the Mario comparisons in the gameplay itself are not too close. I mean, like you said, it's side scroller, but the mechanics are totally different. Like Kirby's floaty and he slides around, and the physics of the game are nowhere near what Mario is. So, somewhat in a bad way for me, because I love the physics of Mario games. But once you get used to it, the Kirby game has its own feel, and it's not like some games we played where it doesn't feel right. This game feels right, but it feels right for itself. It feels different. The
controls are very smooth for what they are. Yeah.
Yeah, and it matches the character and the design and stuff. I mean, he's floaty. He floats. Literally, he floats. So. I got no qualms about that, but yeah, I see. The elements graphically are very reminiscent of Mario games in a way.
So, what is Kirby? That's the crux of the matter. What is Kirby?
I don't know. He kind of reminds me of a marshmallow.
He's like a marshmallow or a balloon or a ball, maybe. But he eats things.
A balloon would be an apt comparison, I would think, because he sucks in air and he floats.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
but he eats things.
He does eat things. He's the blob, basically, right?
Yeah, he really is. He's a pink blob.
Yep.
A happy pink blob.
He's a happy pink blob. I don't think we need to figure out what Kirby is, really. I don't, you don't have to figure that out. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so sprinkled throughout the levels are these little mini games. Did you notice those? I'm sure you did, because they're freaking sweet. I love like all three of them.
Mm-hmm. So that's another element of this game that really brings something extra to it, is the mini game. So which one was your favorite mini game?
Quick draw for sure. I love the quick draw mini game.
Yeah, I actually like the Crane Fever.
I figured you liked the Crane game. I don't know why I thought you would like it. But...
Get that big Kirby. I also liked at the end of the levels where you get to jump up and try to get to the top platform.
Yeah, the little trampoline thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It says jump. You got to hit the jump button at just the right time, and you can go flying up through the clouds.
Right. So just to kind of get overview, I mean, so you like Quick Draw. So Quick Draw is basically like a Old West shootout, essentially.
Yeah, it'll tell you when to draw and when to fire, and you just hit the A button. That's really all it is. But it's just fun. I don't know.
Oh yeah, now, Kirby just shows up with a cowboy hat on.
Oh yeah,
he's out in the middle of the desert.
It's awesome. Did you ever play? I don't remember what the name. I don't remember which Kirby game it actually is. But there was a Super Nintendo Kirby. I think it may have been Superstar Saga. No, I don't know. I don't know which one it was, but it was just a collection of mini games, basically. Mm-hmm. Or I can't remember if it had an actual game or not. All I ever remember playing is the mini games. But the Quick Draw game was in that game too, but you could play 2-player. And it was awesome. But there was also there were some other mini games that you could play. There's like 6 or 7 total. And I don't know. I can't honestly. I'm going to get so much hate from the listeners right now, but because all I ever did when I went over to Carl's house, and he had the game, and I never had it myself. But I would go over to Carl's house and we would just play the mini games. So I don't actually know if it was a collection of mini games only, or if it was included with a full game, like this game is. But I just remember we would always go there when we would play the mini games on the Kirby game. It almost felt like a Super Mario Party or something, where you just...
I was going to say, I love mini games. Like, I love Wario Worlds. I love the Super Mario Parties. Probably the Wario Worlds are my favorite, because they're just random
the WarioWare? Like, is that what you're talking about?
WarioWare, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, man, I really wish that the new WarioWare game, I really wish it would come out on Switch, but it just came out on 3DS. Yeah. It's like a collection of all the best WarioWare games in one WarioWare game. But it looks awesome.
I gotta say, like, WarioWare for the Wii was the original Wii was probably the best, because utilizing the controller for the Wii to like do a bunch of just random games was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, well we had a lot of good laughs playing that game.
Yeah.
I love that game. Do you still have it? I know you still have your Wii, right?
Yeah, I still got it. I haven't played it in a long time.
You got the WarioWare game still?
I do.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
I'm
going to have to drive up to Lexington.
Yeah. I haven't played it in a long time. I need to break that out. The girls would like that.
Yeah, it's fun. You have to do the nose picking and stuff. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, nose picking, balance a broom on your hand, just random stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, does that WarioWare game use the balance board too? Or was that the one on Wii U?
I guess it's the one on Wii U, because I don't know, have a balance board. It may use it, but I've never used it.
It may only use it if you have it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
It was an interesting concept, the balance board.
Yeah, I had it. Never used it.
Yeah.
Like
I can't imagine you.
We played Wii Fit for a while because that's what we got it for. It came with Wii Fit. And there was a couple of games on Wii Fit, man, that were awesome. There's a soccer header one where you just they throw soccer balls at you and you have to hit them with your head by leaning back and forth on the board. We spent hours playing that, but just in general, it was kind of useless.
Yeah. Kind of like a lot of the accessories Nintendo's come out with throughout the years. Just mostly useless.
Yeah, pretty much.
They'll come out for like one game and then it's like, that's about it.
That's the story of Nintendo, right? The Power Glove too and stuff, which we're eventually going to have to talk about the Power Glove for sure.
We are going to have to talk about it. We really only talked about the Power Pad. It's the only one we really talked about, right? Yeah, accessory-wise.
We did. And then it was...
The Zapper. We talked about it. That doesn't count.
Yeah. Honestly, the Power Pad episode that we did is like our least listened to episode. So I was thinking... So since then I'm thinking, okay, accessory episodes, people don't really want to... They don't want to hear them.
Right. Yeah. Boring.
As well as, remember that we went back when we thought, every now and then we're going to do like a top 5, something weird. Like we did like top 5 Mario jobs or something, remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Also one of our least listened to episodes, so.
Nobody cares about the Mario jobs.
Yeah, so if anybody out there is wondering why we don't do those anymore, that's because nobody listened to them.
Nobody cares. Right.
I mean, there was so few to listen to. It just totally wasn't worth it.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, how about Kirby? So let's. What did you think of the graphics?
So I love the graphics. They're very cartoony, but that's what it's supposed to be. I think for Kirby, I think you would not expect it to be anything else. So there are so many colors too, like on a lot of the levels and I really enjoyed that. So I really like the graphics of this game.
Oh yeah, I give them A+. Well, let me give them an A because I did experience some slowdown at times, but they look awesome. The backgrounds move and stuff, and there's so many colors, like you said. It's just okay. Kirby, this game gets late in the NES life cycle. They had totally figured it out because this game looks amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah, high praise for the graphics. What about the sound and the music? So it was adequate, is what I'll give it. I didn't really think that it was anything to write home about. There was nothing iconic, because like you look at like Mario's kind of cartoony music, but it's iconic. I mean, it's still got a good rhythm to it. Or then we talked about games like Mega Man, who have like soundtracks you can just listen to outside of playing the game. This game's neither. It's just it fits the game, but it's not something that's great either. Yeah, I can kind of understand that. I think it fits I would give it slightly higher praise than you did because I think it fits the game better than just about any game's music does. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think the songs are great. They don't really stand out like you said. But they just mesh with the style of game so well that I think they need slightly higher praise from me than they did you. But I will say the sound effects in this game are great. I love all the sound effects in this game.
Yeah, that's true.
So while the music is just adequate and matches the game really well, the sound effects are cool. There's some really neat sound effects in this game. So I like the sound effects. Yeah,
I agree with that too.
So I got a couple hints and tips, straight from the manual. If you think it will be too tough to continue with your current vitality level, check out the museum or arena. Remember that you will have to fight for your power-up in the arena, so be careful. Oh, we forgot to talk about that. You can go, there's, throughout the levels, some of the doors that don't lead to all the doors don't lead to levels. Some of them lead to bonus stages. You can go to the arena, which is where you just fight and you get prizes. And then there's the museum, which is there's various museums throughout the game, and you go in there and you usually get something. So
yeah,
forgot to mention that.
The arena in Kirby going in there and fighting, is that the birth of the idea of Super Smash Brothers?
It Probably may be. I don't know. But
I mean, Kirby's always been in Super Smash Brothers too, so
Yeah, I think Super Smash Brothers is, I don't know where the idea came from, but it's definitely sumo wrestling, right? That's where the idea comes from.
Right.
As far as the style.
Speaking of which, do you ever play as Kirby in Super Smash Brothers? Any of the Super Smash Brothers?
I did some. He wasn't my best character, but I did play him, especially in the first one.
Kind of here nor there, really.
He had in the first one, and they kind of toned it down in the subsequent ones, but the one on the N64, he had the ability where you could fly up and then turn into the brick, like you can in this game. Turn into the brick and fall from the sky. And if you landed on somebody, it was so devastating in that first game.
Yeah.
But since then, I think they've toned it down. I kind of quit using Kirby.
Yeah.
Anyways, how about another hint and a tip here? Did you know that the game pack will automatically save the level you've reached, but will not save the number of lives? So be careful. If you rack up a bunch of lives and quit, you will not have them when you come back.
Better use them. Keep sitting there and playing.
That's right. Medium-sized bosses can be inhaled after you've reduced their vitality meter.
Yeah.
If there's an obstacle that obstructs your path, try sliding into it.
Busting it open.
I do that all the time in life, you know.
He does kind of look like the Kool-Aid guy.
Yeah, maybe that is him.
Busting through the walls. Oh, man. Anyway.
So, speaking of the Kool-Aid guy, I watched Family Guy for the first time in a really long time, hoping that it would be as funny as it always was. And there was only like two parts in the first episode that I watched that were funny. I was really disappointed.
Yeah. Here's the thing about Family Guy. Family Guy, like, first season was good. Like, seasons 2 through 4 or 5 were amazing. And then after that, it just died, in my opinion. And then it's like, but The Simpsons, on the other hand, they just like seem to somehow just keep getting better. Like, I watched a new Simpsons the other day on Hulu, and it was like, it was hilarious. Like, how are they still doing it?
I don't know, man. I haven't. There's so many episodes of The Simpsons. If the app for the Fox app on the Apple TV, if you use it, they have it's just like a Simpsons channel thing where you can just go there and it just randomly plays episodes all day long. It's just like 24/7 Simpsons, just random episodes. It's pretty awesome. But anyways, there was one part that I thought was hilarious in the Family Guy episode. It was the initial joke was not funny. It was like Meg was adjusting the thermostat or something, and she's like, Peter, he came in because he heard her adjusting the thermostat or something, and that was kind of like the initial joke that was kind of supposed to be funny. But the funny part was, she's like, how did you know I was adjusting the thermostat? He's like, I got this thing in my head as a dad that just tells me when somebody's adjusting the thermostat. And then like all of a sudden the door opens up to the kitchen, and like the neighbor guy pokes his head. He's like, hey Peter, somebody adjusting your thermostat? My thing's going off.
I think I've seen that before. Yeah.
That was pretty
Somebody
good.
adjusting the thermostat over here? Yeah.
My thing's going off. He pointed his head. So that was pretty funny.
So true. It's funny but true.
Yep. Anyways, I think that's about it. So, time for the is it fun, is it worth it part of the show.
I was waiting for an intro.
Oh, we don't have an intro for that. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I should have known that, but I'm so gun shy now. Like after the past few times I've spoke over them, I'm like, wait, is it coming? Is it coming?
Hey, here, I'll give you. Speaking of gun shy, how about I give you your own little intro? Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's time for the part of the show where we talk. Say, is it fun? Is it worth it?
Pow. Right in the kisser. Okay, so this game, you can get it. Let's give it an average price of like $22. It ranges from anywhere from $18 to $40. So, but it looks like more are on the end of like $20. So we'll say $22.
Okay. Honestly, man, I had a lot of fun with this game. I think it's worth it.
I do too. I think 22, or I think that's easy. That's an easy pay for this game. And this is, we get into these games that are usually like $20 or so. That's a lot of the kind of times that we say the game's not necessarily worth it. But this one is going to be one that I'd say pull the trigger on, buy it. If you're an NES enthusiast and you've not played this, you need to play it.
Yeah,
it's really the NES at one of its best. So
the only person I would say that should not play this game is if you've played a Kirby game elsewhere, like on another system or something, and decided you did not like the Kirby format, then don't play this game. But I will honestly, a lot of times I would say if you've played it on a newer system, it's better. No need to go. If you go back, it may not be as good. This one, though, I mean, if you played it on a newer system, you can go back and play this one, and it's just as good. Yeah. So it's not like if you played the Super Nintendo one or any of the newer ones, and you think to yourself, "Well, I better not go back and play the NES. It may ruin my enthusiasm for Kirby." I would not worry about it because this game it's just as good as the other ones as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. At least all the ones I've played.
I agree.
Okay.
All right.
Well, do we have any retrofitted trophies?
Oh boy, here comes my favorite part, the retrofitted trophies!
You have any?
I've got a couple. How about you?
I've got a couple.
Go ahead and start us off.
Okay. Pink is my favorite color. And to get pink is my favorite color, you have to beat the game.
All right. Mine is, and for my next feat, look out, Joey Chestnut. And that is beat this game. And the reference here, Joey Chestnut is the reigning hot dog eating champion. And so if you beat this game as Kirby and you eat all the bad guys and stuff, you should be able to mop the floor with Joey Chestnut. It's 70 hot dogs or however many he eats in 10 minutes.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got another one called Pink is My New Obsession. And to get Pink is My New Obsession, you have to complete all the doors in the game. Because just beating the game will not have you complete all the doors. So you have to go through the entire game, open all the doors, and do what's inside. Which I think there's more after you beat the game. There's some more, or at least I didn't do them all on my way through the first time. So
yeah. Cool. I like it. My next one is Give Me That $100. And that is a personal reference of mine. So that is get the biggest Kirby in the crane game.
Nice.
And the reason is, it seems like I've talked about this on the podcast, but there were, when we would go on beach trips to Myrtle Beach, there would be gas stations. And I guess laws were a little different in South Carolina back then than they were in Tennessee, but they had the quarter machine where you put the quarter in, then it puts it on that shelf, and then that thing slides, and it might knock the quarter
Oh yeah.
You know,
The total rip off of the game.
Yeah, it's completely rip off. Well, there was another one. There was a claw game, and it had teddy bears in there. The teddy bears had money strapped to them, like $100 bill strapped to a teddy bear, right?
Whoa.
Except when you played the claw game and you were to grab one of the bears, they were tied to the bottom with fishing line.
Oh.
So you had to, the game was you were supposed to try to break the fishing line, which I'm fairly certain was impossible. But anyway, so that's.
Now, have we talked about on the show before how the crane game's rigged?
Maybe. Not sure.
Yeah. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. But I'm not going to get into it again, mainly because I don't remember exactly how it was rigged. But I remember watching like a YouTube video about how the crane game is rigged, or how they can manipulate it to rig it, and it was pretty interesting. So if anybody's curious, I would look it up.
There was one in this Mexican restaurant in Middlesboro, Kentucky, that we went to a lot when we lived up near, when we lived in Tazewell, which is kind of up in the Kentucky-Tennessee border. And it was like the most generous crane game ever. Like pretty much always won when you played it. All it had in it was just balls, like rubber balls that, a kid can play with. But it was a quarter, and every time you played, it was the easiest one. You can grab one of those balls and pull it out. So they were just really nice, just giving away balls to kids basically per quarter.
Nice. I remember the one at Food City being fairly easy. I could win about every third time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
My uncle plays that one a lot.
Is there still one at Food City? Yeah, I guess there is.
Yeah.
I was thinking the old Food City, but yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Crane
My
games are
uncle
fun.
loves playing games like that, yeah. There's been multiple occasions where me or my wife or my dad has ran into my uncle playing the crane game at Food City.
Nice. So you just every now and then you'll see your uncle at Food City playing the crane game. Does he get groceries, or he just goes to play the crane game?
I'm not real sure. I think he goes for groceries, but he's probably going for groceries, but he's thinking in the back of his head, got to play this crane game.
Yeah, I heard that. I mean, the crane game is how I spent most of my time while Mom shopped until they got Street Fighter, and then I played Street Fighter.
Then it's game on, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Right, I got another trophy.
All right.
Pink gets me high as a kite. To get pink gets me high as a kite, you just have to fly to the top of the stage.
All right. All righty. You got any more? I'm out.
No, that's it. Did you catch my theme this episode?
Pink.
Yes.
And the song that Aerosmith.
Yeah, those were all lines from the Aerosmith song.
Yeah.
Anyways, how about we rate this game? And we don't have an intro for it, by the way. So.
Okay. Game rating. Let's see. Let's do type of bubble gum. Because I just thought Kirby kind of looks like a bubble that you'd blow with bubble gum.
Okay. Oh man, type of bubble gum. I'm gonna go with juicy fruit.
Okay.
Because to me, Kirby is kind of a kid's game, but it's a really good one. And juicy fruit was like my favorite gum when I was a kid. So I gotta give Kirby juicy fruit. And I just called him Curvy.
Curvy. He is curvy. Just one curve, essentially.
One continuous curve, aka a circle.
Right. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go with bubble tape because it was one of my favorites as a kid, and it's got the color of Kirby in it, and so when you blow a bubble, you can take a Kirby.
I had a problem with bubble tape when I was a kid. I would eat it.
Oh yeah,
I know it was gum, but there was just something about it being on a roll that I just chew it and swallow it. I don't know. It's weird.
It doesn't last long either. Like the chew value of it doesn't last long. Like it just goes flat in no time. So
yeah. So I had a problem with the bubble tape, chewing it and swallowing it. There was another gum I had a problem chewing and swallowing when I was a kid.
Probably my favorite was Big League Chew.
Yeah, Big League Chew was good, but I wanted to chew it because I wanted to look like I was spitting tobacco or something, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I didn't swallow it.
Yeah. But it's hilarious. Like, Big League Chew, pretend you're chewing tobacco or candy cigarettes. It's a wonder they didn't have like candy beer.
They probably did. That's what root beer is, right?
I guess, yeah. Root beer.
No, yeah, Big League Chew. Now, if my parents were right back in the day, all this bubble tape and whatever that other one I swallowed is still down there.
Oh yeah, it doesn't go away, right? That's what you're told.
I was told that it doesn't go away.
Sticks in your gut.
Stop swallowing it because it's not going to go away. So
I can tell you,
it's still down there.
I've seen many a colonoscopies of just people's colons just lined with gum, just stuck in there.
I mean, I'm surprised they can even make a bowel movement.
Right.
Like
or absorb anything. Gum's just stuck to the walls.
There was I'm not going to mention any names or who it was, but there was a person I knew that had trouble pooping, and they could not make it. They could not make a bowel movement or whatever. Not me, by the way, in case you're wondering. But my guess is from all the gum that when they were a kid.
I would assume. Yeah.
It just makes you unable to go.
Right.
All right, that's enough poop talk. How about some feedback?
Which my middle daughter, she just eats gum. Like we have to just keep it away from her. She just eats it. And no matter how much you explain to her, you got to spit it out. Doesn't work. It's like, got a match. She's already calling her bluff. She's already calling her bluff on it. She's like, oh, this goes right out of me.
So what does it do, really? Because I've never actually researched it to find out. I'm assuming it just comes out as a whole piece.
Yeah, it doesn't get absorbed because there's really nothing to break down. The body doesn't really break down gum, so it just will pass out. Yeah, in a turd, wrapped in turd.
Kind of like corn.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I guess anything can cause a bowel obstruction. So I guess if you ate like 33 packs of gum and swallowed every piece, maybe it would cause a problem, but it would have to be something pretty substantial in order to be a problem.
Okay. That's reassuring.
Yeah. Because there's people that get which is the coolest name in medicine, a Bezoar. All right? Okay. Sounds like a character in Power Rangers, a Bezoar. But a gastric Bezoar is like somebody that's eat something that their body can't digest, and it creates an obstruction. And so I guess gum could technically do that, although I've never seen it. It's usually people that eat their own hair. Just have a big hairball in their stomach, and they actually have to go and surgically remove it or get it with a scope. So
that's rough. So Bezoar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Bezoar. It's like Mastodon, Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus, Bezoar.
Right. It was the original. It was going to be the original for the Green Ranger, but they decided to go with Dragonzord instead. Yeah. So
it's a shame. I would have much rather the Green Ranger be the Bezoar.
The Bezoar. Just a big ball of hair.
I'm the one in my house that doesn't actually get grossed out by hair, so I'm the one who always has to clean the drains and stuff out of it with hair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it is actually kind of gross, but
Yeah, and it's just one of those things too. It's like a lot of hair gets built up in the drain, and barely any time at all.
I know, and you got a family full of women, so
right. It's all long. It's a lot of hair.
That's a lot of hair.
Yeah. Anyway.
Let's do feedback.
Got a lot of Bezors. All right. So on the Facebook group, we have Sean Muldowney starting us out and says, iconic. I know the joke is that Kirby wraps up a system's life cycle nowadays, but back in my childhood, Kirby's Adventure was up there for me with the Mario games. The power consumption was fun and felt innovative, and the levels were fun. From the museums of power-ups to the claw machines, this game is a joy. Joe Copel says, I love Kirby's Adventure. When I got my NES again, this was one of the first games I bought. To me, Kirby should be just as prominent as Mario on any Nintendo system. Nick Stevens says, insert Nick Stevens sound clip here. I don't know what that means. Maybe he got called, gave us a voicemail. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what do you mean, sound clip?
Yeah, I don't know. All right, Chris Randazzo, hope I'm saying that right, says, I was a huge fan of Kirby's Dream Land on Game Boy, so when this game came out with its full-color graphics, awesome animation, especially for the sword and needle power-ups, and super cool power-absorbing ability, I was in love. The whole game layout was great. All the little bonus games are super fun. The music is a joy. The retro level at the end is amazingly cool. And the final boss battle is nuts. I love this game, and it's still probably my favorite game in the series to this day. Brian Voss says, I loved that game growing up. Tyler Jones says, I love the mini games. Eat those SOBs. Some sobs. Chris.
Nothing like Chris a buttery sob.
That's right. Chris Vanderhoff says, it's a great game, especially when the original came out, as not many games had the power absorption mechanic. Just, God. It's a shame this was a Nintendo-developed game, as it would have been superior on Genesis. P.S. I'm sorry for not trolling you on the Double Dribble episode. I was feeling nice for that brief period. We may resume as normal now. All right.
Thanks. Nice.
Yeah. Aaron Higman, Germ himself, says, wonderful game. Owned it at launch. Some of the best graphics, gameplay, and music for the system bar none. Loved all the little mini games. Could have been a tad harder, but 9-year-old me didn't complain when he beat it. Andrew Code says, never played a Kirby game. I thought it was for girls when I was growing up. Luckily, time has allowed me to get over that hang-up. If you guys tell me to, I will play it.
Play it.
Play it, Andrew. Mike Levy says, I believe this says all I need to say. Right, Aaron? And it gives a link to his YouTube video where he talks about Kirby's Adventure. So if anybody's interested in that, I actually watched it, and he's the one that I said I stole that quote from, a picture between Mario and Mega Man. He's the one that said that on this video that I watched earlier, and it's a good video. It's a good little recap. He actually made it shortly after Iwata passed away, so it's kind of a homage to him. But it's a good video. You can look it up on the group page. He go to, dude, you haven't played this game, Kirby's Adventure. It says, this is a fun game that I've started and been determined to finish, yet never have any time. And Mike King rounds us out, but he's one tough cream puff. All right. And then on the Facebook page, we have quite a little bit. Jay Jorgensen says, oh snap, this game is awesome. No video game character has ever sucked this much. Get it? See what you did there?
Clever.
Mm-hmm. Mac Morton says, I played this for the first time on the NES Classic. None of my friends had this game. The character always looked kind of lame to me as a kid. When I played it for the first time, I was pleasantly surprised at how fun it is. I played it for most of the weekend. Should have given it a chance when I was younger. Solid game.
Hey,
Joshua
List. I can I pause you for just a second? I heard you say it and did not comment, and we also did not talk about it throughout the entirety of the show. But there is I forget which listener mentioned it in their comments, but there is a level, in the last level, there's a segment where you go back to the Game Boy game.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot to mention that because it's one of the neatest things that this game does. In the last level, somewhere in the middle of the last level, Kirby actually goes back to the Game Boy game, and it's like black and white. It's really neat. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah,
I can't believe I forgot to mention that during the show. And then somebody mentioned it in the comments, and then I was too busy pulling up the voicemails to pay attention.
There's a nice little homage there. Joshua Witt says an excellent platformer, even though Kirby really sucks. I didn't know that this was on the NES until long after I played it on Game Boy. Douglas DeLakey Jr. says, dude was modeled after the Blob. He is freaky as all get out and will eat your very existence given the chance. Get him before it's too late. Nathan Sweeney says, very excited to hear your thoughts on this game. Gameplay was amazing, and being a late release NES title in 1993, it looks amazing as well. Philip Gibbs says, this was the first Kirby game I beat, although not the first I played. It is pure fun on a cartridge. Ryan R. Jackson says, big pink marshmallow that swallows stuff. Cool. Andy Lewis says, never really played it growing up. Can't get into it now that I'm grown up. All right.
That's fair, I guess.
Well, it's his guarantee, I guess. Joshua Reiger says, probably my pick for best NES game of all time, except for Action 52.
I think that's a joke.
Yeah. Mike Hall says, my favorite power-up is the microphone thing. Classic Wrestling Stars says, good one. And Dustin Wynn says, awesome game. That rounds us out.
All right, Google Plus, Ryan Ballard.
Yeah, let's hear it, Ryan.
My first experience with Kirby was on the Game Boy. My brother got it for his birthday one year, and pretty much every Smash Brothers thereafter. As for this game, I like the graphics and varied upgrades that Kirby can use. I think this one will be well regardless on the podcast. I think he got auto-corrected. I think it's well regarded, probably.
Yeah.
Not his fault. I blame autocorrect. Then on the Tweetor, we got Paul and Andy from Power Trip Gaming. Those guys put on a good show. It's on YouTube's, so go check out Paul and Andy, Power Trip Gaming. They say one of the absolute best games on the Nintendo. Just like Nick Stevens, this game is definitely in my top 10 of all time. The Genesis Jews would agree, and Tom Arnold would be impressed. All true statements, I think.
A lot of good praise for this game.
Yeah, Nick Stevens actually comes in here. He says, my top 10 list is getting ridiculous. That it is, Nick. That it is.
That's true.
And then
Just keeps knocking more out.
Paul Kluel rounds us out on the Twitter. He says, very solid title. Controls well, easy to pick up and understand, very easy to see why the franchise was successful. Totally agree with all you said there, Paul. All right, now we do have several voicemails, and that should round us out.
All right.
So let me pull up these voicemails here. Shouldn't take but just a second. You can just sit there and listen to the silence, or listen to me randomly so that I can prove that there is no silence. We could just let Truncate Silence take that out, but instead I'm going to ramble so that it actually does not, and it makes us look like
we'd rather have rambling than anything, right?
I'd rather look like not very good podcaster, you know?
Right. Sure.
All right, here we go.
Yo, dudes. This is St. John from Nerd Noise Radio, and I have just finished listening to a backlog of Two Dudes episodes, just episode after episode after episode. Oh, jeez. I really need to go play some Sega now. Anyway, I thought I would comment on a handful of the games that you guys have talked about in the meantime. Strider. So I only ever dabbled in the NES version. I don't know. It just never caught on. And my first experience with Strider was the NES version, so I assumed it was, normal. I assumed it's what Strider was about. Later on, I encountered the Genesis version, and I mean, you guys already hate me for that Sega crack. You guys are really going to want to string me up after saying this. I'm that huge and brilliantly detailed and all that stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I skipped what you were going to say there, John.
And, that brings up an interesting thing, an interesting trend. This is pretty true across, maybe not 100% true, but largely true across NES, SNES on the one hand, Master System and Genesis on the other. The Nintendo systems tended to take a lot more liberties with the arcade ports. They were a lot less faithful. Sometimes that's for the better, and sometimes it's not. And it's probably more subjective whether it's better or worse, but like Double Dragon on the NES was almost a completely different game than the arcade game, whereas the Master System version suffered from similar hardware limitations, but in terms of the level layouts, the way the game played, and all that stuff was much more faithful to the arcade. Like I said, which one wins, which one loses is in the eye of the beholder. I know you guys are so biased, you're going to prefer the Nintendo version just out of principle. Okay, all right, put away the torches and pitchforks and stuff, guys. Anyway, it's an interesting dynamic. So, now Wampum. Man, I loved Wampum. I loved it. It was like Mega Man, only with just a close-range standard weapon. I love it was like a parallel universe of Mega Man, an interesting take on it, and I thought it was fantastic. I love the level design. I love the music. Now, I don't remember the particulars of this, but I know the original Japanese version didn't feature Native Americans. It was like some sort of Chinese legend, I believe. But, it's an amazing thing, the power of suggestion, because I experienced this game with a Native American character. I hear this music, and the whole time I'm thinking this music sounds quote-unquote Native American to me. It invokes Native American imagery to me, which is funny because that was never the intention of the composer. The composer never was thinking Native Americans. Anyway, I did feature some Wampum music on Nerd Noise Radio, episode 20, a pair of tracks. Let's see. The Bridge. You mentioned The Bridge on the Switch. I've never played it, but I want to get to it. It is, or...
Oh, he got cut off. Did I mention, okay, so that was John from Nerd Noise Radio. He does a podcast all about, actually he does I think he has different channels. He's got multiple Nerd Noise podcasts. But anyways, it's all about music. John, if anybody ever remembers Retro Thought Pod days, if anybody ever listened to them, they would know that John, love him to death, is a little long-winded. So there's another message. Also, eventually we're going to have him on because he's got quite a bit of knowledge about hardware, and I would think it'd be a cool episode to have him on, just talk about the NES hardware, which that will happen someday in the future. But John continues. So here's another message from John.
Yo, dudes. It's John from Nerd Noise Radio again. I got cut off by the answering machine because I just go on and on and on and on. Someone needs to shut me up. Anyway.
He freely admits it too, so there you go.
Yeah. Right.
The Bridge. So yeah, I never played it, but I wanted to get it. It was, or maybe even still is, on sale on the Switch eShop. So, maybe I'll go pick that up. Karnoff. I only ever dabbled with it. I had it on the NES. I played it a handful of times. It just felt so wooden to me. It never caught on to me. But the arcade version looks a lot better. So I would love to maybe get a ROM in the arcade and play that. And that's another interesting point about NES ports. When they are good, they are gold. And when they're not good, man, they are... I'm thinking of Skulls and Crossbones. That game felt like playing a block of wood. But the reason I bring that up is because Karnoff kind of feels similar. It feels like a block of wood to me also. Donkey Kong. Not much to say about it, but I love it. It's like the perfect, simple game. You know, first encounter with Mario, who completely changed all of our lives. First encounter with Donkey Kong. You know, some chick named Pauline. I think it was Pauline. Man, I'm going to be really embarrassed if it wasn't Pauline. Anyway, you know, so I have it on the NES. I have it on the NES Classic Mini. I have it on Atari 2600, Television, Atari 7800. I think I have it on ColecoVision, and then I have the arcade version on Switch. So, yeah, I've never heard of it. Never heard of it. So, yeah. I wanted to touch base with you on those games. You know, all of them easily in top 10,000 games. Yes, they all are top 10,000 games for me. So, anyway, talk to you later, dudes, and bye.
Thanks, John. So, John, are you starting a top 10,000 list? Nick Stevens got his top 10 list. All right, here's another voicemail.
What's up, dudes? This is JZNES from YouTube calling in to talk about Kirby, because Kirby is an awesome game. And hopefully you guys like this one. It's nice and easy. It's pretty, you know, pretty fun. It's a good one. It's colorful. It's very graphically and musically a great game. See, my experience with Kirby was one of the first games when I first played like an NES back in the day. And I was using the evils of emulation. Whoa, what? Oh, demo mode. I was the buzz. But here's the thing. I was like 12 or whatever at the time, so it was like that's like all I had. I couldn't just like go and seek out these cards or whatever. So basically, some of my first experiences with the NES, these are like the magical days, you know, where Kirby and I had like a Boy and His Blob and games like that, you know, and the Marios and that kind of stuff, you know, and the Zeldas and stuff, and you know, so Kirby's Adventure is a game I'm very nostalgic about from that emulation period of my life with the NES. This is one of those games that kind of helped define my enjoyment of the NES, you know, and it made me want to go and collect all these games, and it's kind of one of those magical games like that. Hopefully you guys liked it. You had a good time playing it, and can't wait to listen to the episode. So this is Ben JZNES signing out.
I think JZNES has our number. He said, "I think you guys like this game. It's easy. It's colorful." He knows what we like. We like colors, and we like them easy. All right, I got 3 more voicemails. This is a voicemail heavy episode. I think it's because Kirby's a pretty popular game.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, dude. This is Dude My Call. I haven't called in a while, mainly because, unfortunately, the last couple games you guys have covered, I've never played before. But anyway, but yeah. And if Dude My Call is too difficult, you can call me the Piper Dude if you want, because I play the bagpipes. But anyway,
nice.
Been wanting to call for a while, and I just haven't had much to talk about. But I just heard something the other day, actually today, that made me think to call you guys. We have a neighborhood pig too.
What?
And
oh no!
My mom said she saw it.
Oh no, he got cut off.
No.
He has a neighborhood pig too, and his mom said she saw it.
Oh man!
There's another.
Speaking of which, my mom has had some pigs, plural, showing up in her yard recently.
Pigs, man.
Like 4, and there's like 4 or 5 of them. And she says it's okay. Like, you know, at first she thought it was just funny, but now they start rooting in the yard and stuff. They're kind of destructive a little bit.
Yeah, they're a little bit of a nuisance. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah.
And a dude my call said we could call him Piper Dude, but Dude Drew Bacco can tell you that we don't call you by what you want to be called. We call you by what we call you. So you play the bagpipes. You say we can call you Piper Dude. I think we're going to be calling you Dude Bag.
Dude Bag is best. Yeah. Dude Bag.
So welcome to your new name, Mike.
Dude Bag.
Or should we call you Dude Bag?
Nice.
All right. We got another voicemail here. Sorry, Dude Bag. Just ask Slapperbags how he likes being when Justin and I come up with nicknames.
Right. It's great.
They normally include bag in there somewhere. All right, here we go. Here's another voicemail.
Hey, dudes. It's Dude J. Dude Jorgensen. Dude Fishless J. Calling in. I was just playing some Kirby's Adventure on the NES Classic. My daughter was helping me out. What do you think of Kirby's Adventure? She really liked it. I used to play this game a little bit when I was a lot younger, but I didn't have a NES long enough to actually, play the game a lot. So this is like my most memorable experience playing it recently because, like I said, I haven't played it since probably 94. I played a lot more of the Super Nintendo versions. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My kid's playing Pac-Man on the NES Classic now. So, well, now that I think about it, she's really just playing the demo screen. But whatever makes her happy, I guess. Yeah. Bye.
Dude, Jay.
Yeah, I asked him to call in because he's not called in a while. He made he commented on the Facebook page, said we needed a Dude Jay call, and he doesn't disappoint.
Did not disappoint. Thank you, Jay. All right, we got one more voicemail. I'm getting a little worried. We haven't had a call from Nick Stevens yet, so this is the last.
Yeah,
this is the last call on the list. So hopefully he called in.
This is probably going to be like one of the most infamous sound bites you'll ever have from Nick Stevens, but this is probably one of my favorite games of all time. Like, probably top 10.
Yes, good.
Wow.
I was right there for a minute.
Top 10 for Nick Stevens.
Another Nick Stevens top 10.
Of course.
Well, if that's not a ringing endorsement to go out and buy this game, I don't know what is.
Right. He loves it.
All right, that's it. But I got one more announcement. So, as many of you know, we're now on Anchor, Anchor.fm, the podcast service. And Anchor is starting a new thing where it's kind of like a tip jar. And we're among the first podcasts. They reached out to us and they said, "Hey, we like your all's podcasts. Would you like to be one of the first podcasts to do this tip jar thing?" So I don't know exactly what they're calling it. I don't know if they're calling it a tip jar, if they're just calling it like a monthly contribution or something. They're basically trying to cut into Patreon's game. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that as a listener you should stop your Patreon donations and move to Anchor. But, Anchor system may be better, maybe worse. Probably not going to be worse. It's probably going to be better. Or at least on par. It may be easier to do. Maybe easier to make a little monthly contribution to Anchor. I don't know. We're pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be cool. Again, there's nothing going to go behind a paywall. There's not going to be anything special as far as I know on this new service. I think it's just mainly going to be like I said, like a tip jar. It's going to be like if you want to throw some bones our way and don't actually want anything in return, you just like what we do, and you use Anchor, then I think basically it's going to be just another way to contribute to the show if you want to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
So, Patreon's got their way of doing things. Anchor's introducing their new way, which is releasing today as this podcast releases. As Justin and I are talking about it right now, we're still under an NDA confidentiality thing, so I can't release this episode until they release the ability for us to do that. But I think no matter what day you're listening to this, it's the day that they started doing it because we were holding this episode until that time so that we don't we're not in breach of our NDA. So there you go. I think it should be cool. Again, not something you have to do. You'll still get all the episodes. It's not anything that's going to prevent you from getting episodes. It's just a little extra something available to you if you want.
Awesome.
All right.
Sounds good.
Shout out.
That support is appreciated.
Yeah, it definitely is appreciated. I mean, any little, even the smallest contribution has been great for us. Like Justin just got a new mic. It's not on this episode, so you're probably still hearing a lot of bangs from him. I know that's been a constant nagging issue for the 2 stars to harp on, but I think we're going to get that fixed, sorted out, just in getting a new mic. Of course, the soundboard, playing all these fancy schmancy sound effects like that, and maybe one of these here. Yeah. All right. So we got that. We just got lots of cool stuff happening, all because of the Patreon people. And the junk box that's coming this year will have some swag in it, so you guys can look forward to that. All thanks to the Patreon donors. Anyways, sweet. So shout out to the Retro Junkies. The announcer for this episode is Atari Man. He has a video game store, so check that out. It's on. You can find it on Facebook. It's Nick D's Video Game Vault. So check out his store. Shout out to the Wii Dude for doing awesome stereoized versions of NES tunes, and shout out to the Fox Dude for our awesome logos, plural. I don't know if you've noticed, but the Nintendo Switch Up episodes have a nice, sweet new logo too. So, thank you to the Fox Dude.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And just shout out to Dude Bag for being such a good sport for having a new nickname.
That's right. So, you can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, all the social medias, or our website at twodudesandans.com, nintendudes.com, and nesdudes.com. And you can always give us a call by clicking the button on the website or by calling
775-7-RETRO-1.
All right. Until next time.
Bye.